Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Good News Day. We are covering all the good news stories we found on today's headlines. It's Before Coffee, the father and daughter podcast, comprehensive news of planet Earth, where we look at the news 10-15 minutes before we start, and we have no caffeine. So let's get looking at those headlines. Today on Before Coffee, robot resumes mission to retrieve piece of melted fuel from inside Fukushima reactor, and Minister Madlener starts the regularization of fat bikes in the Netherlands.
A United States newspaper has discovered that defendant J. Trump is really old.
U.S. veteran sees remarkable progress after first eye transplant, and Sweden includes Gripen jet spare parts in new $443 million military aid package for Ukraine.
And wildflowers bloom in North Devon in England. And targeted sound waves treat pain and depression in as little as one 40-minute session.
In culture news, the White Stripes sue Trump over flagrant misappropriation of his hit song.
And it's National TV Dinner Day, so get out that frozen concoction and sit around and watch old movies. It's September 10th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Okay, let's go ahead and look at our first two news stories of the day, which is all about technology. First one is coming from Japan Today, all about Fukushima. This is by Mary Yamaguchi. An extendable robot on today, the 10th of September, resumed its entry into one of the three damaged reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant to retrieve a fragment of melted fuel debris nearly 3 weeks after its earlier attempt was suspended due to a technical issue. The collection of a tiny sample of spent fuel debris from inside the Unit 2 reactor marks the start, the most challenging part of a decades-long decommissioning of the plant, where 3 reactors were destroyed in March 11, 2011 on a magnitude 9 earthquake and tsunami disaster. The sample return mission, initially scheduled to begin on August 22nd, noticed that a set of 1.5 meter or 5 foot add-on pipes to push in and maneuver the robot were in the wrong order and could not be connected within the time limit for the radiation exposure. The plant operator Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings said the pipes were to be used to push the robot inside and pull it back out when it finished. Once inside the vessel, the robot is operated remotely from a safer location. The robot, nicknamed Telesco, can extend up to 22 meters or 72 feet, including the pipes pushing it from behind, to reach the target area to collect the fragment from the surface of the melted fuel mound, using a device equipped with tongs that hang from one of the robots. The mission to obtain the fragment and return it to its lasts about 2 weeks. Well, it takes them 2 weeks to go in there, get the fuel, and get out. The mix-up, which TEPCO called a basic mistake, triggered disappointment and raised concerns from officials and local residents. Industry Minister Ken Saito ordered TEPCO President Tomoaki Kobayakawa a thorough investigation of the case and preventative steps before resuming the mission. The pipes were brought into the Unit 2 reactor building and prearranged at the end of July by workers from Robot's prime contractor and its subsidiary, but their final status was never checked until the problem was found. Yeah, I feel like they should have done the final checks when they first put it in July. TEPCO concluded the mishap was caused by a lack of attention, checking in communication between the operator and working on the ground. On the 9th of September, the equipment was reassembled in the right order and ready for retrial, the company said. The goal of the operation is to bring back less than 3 grams or 0.1 ounce of an estimated 880 tons of fatally reactive molten fuel that remains in the 3 reactors. A small sample will provide a key data to develop future decommissioning methods and necessary technology and robots, experts say. The government and TEPCO are sticking to a 30 to 40 year cleanup target set soon after the meltdown, despite criticisms that it's unrealistic. No specific plan for the full removal of the melted fuel debris is in storage has been decided. Well, that's why they're getting a sample. They're probably going to take the sample to a research facility and say, how can we counter this or get rid of it easily without having to basically tug out 880 tons of fatally reactive, molten fuel just out in the open. Hey guys, it's me. Would you like to fatally die? So yeah, it makes sense.
Fatally die? The only way to die.
It is kind of funny that the thing that stopped them is 2 rods just put in the wrong direction. You know, like when you have a tripod, for example, right? You've got one bigger one, smaller one, and they had the other way around. They don't extend like properly. Simpsons What's going on episode. Here? Yeah. So good news.
The rod saved everybody, like the Simpson episode where inanimate carbon rod saved the space shuttle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're making one big step towards finally clearing the entire area of that fuel, which yet again they said may take 30 to 40 years. At least that's their target. But it's best to have a target than to just like, oh, we'll get it done at some point, you know? And then 100 years later, it's still in there melting away. In more local news information, I guess. There's these things called fat bikes. I think we've talked about them a couple times on the show, but they're basically electric bikes that people as young as like 8 or 4 have been riding. People too young to be on bikes that are going like 30. I don't think they go 30. Maybe they go 15 or 20. I don't know how fast they go, but they go too fast for children. There's a biking culture here in the Netherlands, but the electric biking community is a bit getting out of hand. So now the major House of Representatives announced last week that they are going to support a motion by the VVD and the NCS announcing a minimum age of 14 for fat bikes, and a helmet requirement should also be introduced specifically for fat bikes. The fat bike involved in many accidents should be placed in a separate legal category, the House believes. According to Madlener, such a separate vehicle character is theoretically possible. This is the person basically leading the regulation, but research shows that this is not effective. On the one hand, it is not just viable that thick tires, a low frame, or for example, a 2-person saddle lead to an unsafe vehicle or unsafe road behavior. On the other hand, the market will quickly adapt, the tires will become slightly thinner, the frame will raise slightly, or a different saddle will be installed. The problem is then expected to quickly shift to a new fat bike model, or other electric vehicles can be tuned up, according to the minister. So yeah, his argument is, we can put it in its own category, but people will just change the bike enough that it's not in the category anymore, and then you don't have to follow the rules. He knows how the country works, that's for sure. That's definitely how the Dutch do things. A rule? Let me look for some.
Give them an inch, they take 4 miles.
Yeah. He warns, it is therefore not useful to take measures that only focus on e-bikes with these kind of characteristics. In practice, this is easy to circumvent, and these characteristics do not objectively lead to unsafe vehicles. The minister points to a whole pile of reports that his ministry has carried out. So, the minimum age and helmet requirement are for fat bikes. The introduction is not something that can be arranged overnight. The Road Traffic Act from 1994 needs to be overhauled for this, and that takes an average of 2 years. Moreover, the law applies to all bicycles with pedal assistance. Measures such as a minimum age or a helmet requirement go further than tackling the tuning problem. These measures do not only concern users of tuned electric bicycles, but also users of electric bicycles that have not been tuned, Madlener reports. The minister puts the ball back in the House of Representatives court. The support for the measures for all electric bicycles is not self-evident in society, but in particular terms there are possibilities if the House wants that. It does point at the result of an already stricter approach to fat bikes. For example, the Environment and Transport Inspectorate has seized more than 16,500 fat bikes this year because they had been tuned to be faster, by the way. The inspection also seized around 1,000 uninspected mopeds from the distribution center of a Dutch supplier. So, now you might be saying, oh, why can't people tune their bikes? Why is it okay? Well, the problem is some people who are tuning their bikes don't understand the laws of thermodynamics. And they are spinning their wheels a bit faster than their actual frame can support, and then their frame just falls apart. There's this thing, which I'm sure some of you already know, with nuts and bolts. Okay, they have a certain grade which they can support vibrations. That's why you have really strong ones for planes, for example, which vibrate a lot. You don't want those falling out. Fat bikes, I think, probably have generic normal amount, a normal grade of screws and bolts that can go into the frame. And then when they overtune their bikes, they vibrate so much that the frame just unscrews itself and falls apart. And that's why tuned bikes, an example of why tuned bikes are dangerous. Of course, they're more dangerous because they go faster than they're supposed to. I think they're probably at a normal speed limit of maybe 20 and 30 kilometers per hour, and they're probably getting them way faster to 50 or something, or 40. And then their bikes are falling apart and they're crashing into people and injuring themselves as 8-year-olds, So
nobody wears a helmet there, so
yeah. Well, you don't need to wear a helmet going 50 miles per hour on a normal bike. But when you're wearing when you're on a fat bike, I mean, this is why they're also looking at making rules for just all.
Tell that to the United States.
Well, there was an argument on this on social media I saw a while ago. But the reason why Dutch people don't wear bicycle helmets is because they have a society that's built on bikes, right? People aren't going to hit you with their car. They can. I'm not saying accidents don't happen, but the idea is that because everyone who's in a car also bikes, they're not just going to be disrespectful. The problem in America or in cities, right? You have a lot of those people who get angry at bikers for existing. They hit you on purpose in some cases because they hate that you exist. So that's kind of the difference, at least from my cultural understanding of it. That most people who are in cars are also bikers, so they don't feel the need to get angry and run you over. But also, like I said, you don't go 30 miles per hour on a bike usually.
Doesn't really happen all that often.
Sorry, not 30. You don't go 30 kilometers per hour naturally, so you're not going that fast to begin with on a normal bike. Which is why they're looking at making rules for electric bikes, which I think they probably should, because I'll be honest, a lot of people who ride electric bikes are also older people because it helps them use their bike better, right? Because they have assisted biking. And they also, I think older people, senior citizens, should be wearing helmets because they can fall off their bikes and hurt themselves just because, unfortunately, bodies get old and you break your shoulder just from falling off a bike and stuff like that. So, anyways, that's my American opinion on wearing helmets. On to your stories.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Didn't mean to sidetrack.
I agree with what you're saying, but I understand why it's different here. That's all.
We don't have bike helmets, we just have guns.
Yeah.
Or we have bike helmets and guns. Figure that one out. Unrestricted guns, but hey, wear a bike helmet. Whatever. Okay, so on with the good news. And of course, you hear me if you're a frequent viewer, you'll hear me complaining. Why did the media spend 6 weeks calling Joe Biden old until he dropped out? And now Trump's the oldest person ever to be nominated for a major party's candidacy. And nobody until now has decided to call him old. This is from USA Today. Joe Kepke, I think his name is. Let's see the name at the end, I think it is. Rex Hupke, that's his name. See, a good thing I looked it up. Rex Hupke, USA Today. The title of the story is Trump is 78 and barely coherent. Where is everybody who questioned Biden's age and fitness? To the pundits and Republicans who relentlessly decried President Joe Biden's age, cognitive decline, and mental acuity right up to the day he stepped aside in the presidential race, allow me to unspool a recent quote from the 70-year-old GOP presidential nominee, defendant J. Trump. He was responding to a question about what specific piece of legislation he would advance to make child care more affordable. You want to ask me the next question? The lady asked a question. What specific? The female reporter at some kind of economic forum in New York, a rich people's forum, asked him a question. What specific piece of legislation would you advance to make child care more affordable? Here's Trump's answer. It's a very important issue, but I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that because look, childcare is childcare. It's something you have to have it. It's in this country you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. It's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send our product to the country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we've been talking about, including childcare. That it's going to take care. We're going to have it. I look forward to having no deficits with a fairly short period of time, coupled with reductions that will told you about on waste and fraud and all the other things that are going on in our country. That is as much as I can quote here. That is as much as I can quote here. Well, you could quote the whole thing, but it went on and continued to make 0 sense. Childcare is childcare? Tariffs are going to make childcare costs go away? There's nothing about legislation in that word eruption. There are barely any complete sentences. And we're going to introduce a new word called sane washing. Have you heard that news?
No.
Trump's bizarre rants get sanitized. Yeah, Biden got no such special treatment. If Biden, as a Democratic nominee, had gone on a rambling verbal tear like that, GOP lawmakers would be calling him to be institutionalized, and cable news panels would be discussing how the 25th Amendment works. But the New York Times initial report on Trump's babble said this. In a jumbled answer, he said he would prioritize regulation on the issue, but offered no specifics and insisted that the other economic policies, including tariffs, would take care of the child care. Oh, come on. A 70-year-old convicted felon running for president rants nonsensically, demonstrating an inability to hold a thought or understand an important issue, and it's deemed a jumbled answer? Trump has lately taken to telling despicable and absurd tale alleging American children are going to school and then apparently during the day and without parental permission being subjected to some form of gender-affirming surgery. Yep. At a weekend rally, Trump said, "Can you imagine? You're a parent and your son leaves the house and you say, 'Jimmy, I love you so much. Go ahead, have a good day in school,' and your son comes back with a brutal operation. Can you even imagine this? What the hell is going on in our country?" Not that. Nowhere is that happening anywhere. It's never happened anywhere. Just complete horseshit. Republican presidential nominee Donald... Nobody can imagine it because it's not a thing that's happening in any way, shape, or form. It's several steps beyond ludicrous and so clearly fabricated, you have to wonder what other imaginary things the teller believes. If a relative was convinced of such a thing was happening, you'd rush them to a doctor. At his weekend rally in Wisconsin, Trump brought up his sadistic plan to deport millions of immigrants, and he spun a dizzyingly dishonest tale about immigrants. In Colorado, they're so brazen, they're taking over sections of the state, and getting them out will be a bloody story. They should have never been allowed to come in the country. Nobody checked them. Nobody checked where they were criminals. Were they from jails? We have them pouring out from jails. We have the worst criminals in all of these countries. 168 so far registered. 168 countries. They're in our countries, and they said if you come back, you will be executed. You'll be killed immediately. Oh boy, that's a load of hot nonsense. It likely stems from a debunked right-wing claim about one apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, being overrun by Venezuelan gangs. Again, debunked, but Trump concocts a violent fiction that includes a threat to the deportation effort will be a bloody story. Where are all the headlines screaming, "Deranged old man peddles nonsense while threatening violent deportation of immigrants"? Where are the feverish concerns about whether Trump, who if he wins will be the oldest president elected, will have the mental capacity to finish out his term? Where are the calls for him to step aside? They don't exist. Even though Trump's incoherence has grown markedly worse in recent months, he's never scrutinized the way Biden was. Many news organizations are sanitizing Trump's crazier and crazier comments. Parker Molloy at the New Republican recently wrote, "This sane washing of Trump's statements isn't just poor journalism, it's a form of misinformation that poses a threat to democracy. By continually reframing Trump's incoherent and often dangerous rhetoric as conventional political discourse, major news outlets are failing in their duty to inform the public and are instead providing cover for increasingly erratic behavior from a former and potentially future president." That's absolutely correct. Concerns about Biden's age were legitimate, albeit widely overreported. Concerns about Trump's age and the ease which he concocts paranoid fantasy are somewhere between muted and non-existent. I implore you to watch Trump rallies and listen to him. He seems incapable of train of thought. With only a couple of months left before voters decide if this 78-year-old should be president, the American public deserves an unvarnished picture of Trump. Full quotes, no matter how unhinged. Anything less from journalists, pundits, and lawmakers is a calamitous lie. You go get him, Rex. There's your story from USA Today. Saying what everybody should be saying every day. Trump is too old and too incoherent to be any leader of anything. He shouldn't even be leading a friggin' Christmas caroling thing down the block. Nothing. The dude couldn't find his shoes without a map. Understand? He is lost, and he's old, and he's fading. Who wants old and fading when you can have relatively young and full of ideas and energy? Me, I'll take the young and full of ideas and energy, but the grumpy old man making shit up any day. Back to you.
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. So many things I've seen, like I've been avoiding seeing him, but the things I have seen just without my permission has just been completely and totally psychotic.
Oh, and the debates tonight, by the way. There's a debate. There's one presidential debate tonight. There might be another one because Trump's probably going to get destroyed. I'm not going to watch it. I'll watch the highlights. I can't stand watching Trump. Even for like 30 seconds. It's like, oh my God, when is this guy just going to fucking go away?
When I hear my voice, I'll
go away.
Yeah. Just mute my ears. I don't even want to hear his voice.
Just like, that'll be the best day ever. But he just sails off into wherever the fuck you never have to hear from him again. Just a waste of fucking plasma. A waste of protoplasm.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to you.
Okay. In some more good news, we're going to talk about one of the first eye transplants that is progressing, I think, successfully in the U.S. This is on BBC News by Madeleine Halbert. U.S. veteran sees remarkable progress after first eye transplant. A U.S. military veteran who received the world's first whole eye transplant has made significant progress a year later and has been able to resume his normal life, researchers say. We probably covered this on a Good News Tuesday last year. So I think we're back from holiday at this point. So
we're always keeping an eye out for a good news story.
But we've got an update here after a year from Aaron James, 46. He received a rare partial face transplant as well. He lost most of his face in an accident in 2021 while working at a high voltage utility lineman. So him being a veteran is actually not related to his injury whatsoever, but they put it in there so you would go, wow, those veterans sure do deserve that good stuff. Anyone deserves it, to be fair.
Yes.
Even if they're not a veteran. His donor eye has so far maintained normal pressure and blood flow and retained its size. Unlike donor eyes in animals that often shrink after transplants, researchers at NYU Langone Health said in a new study. Mr. James has not regained sight in that eye, but researchers are hopeful he might eventually be able to see out of it again. They said they were truly amazed by Mr. James' recovery. The outcomes we're seeing after this procedure are quite incredible and could pave the way for new clinical protocols and inspire further research into complex transplants involving critical sensory organs. Dr. Vadehi Dedania, Mr. James' ophthalmologist, which I guess is eye doctor, but like internal eye. Internal eye doctor. The study author said a test called electrotinography, which measures the retina's electrical response to light, showed that the donor's eye's rods and codes, the light-sensitive nerve cells in the eye, survived the transplant. This electrical response converts light into signals that ultimately the brain can interpret for vision, giving hope for the future of whole eye transplants with the aim to restore sight, researchers said. Mr. James did not lose sight in his right eye. Last May, he underwent 21 hours of surgery that involved more than 140 healthcare professionals. The donated face and eye came from a single male donor in his 30s. During the surgery, doctors injected adult stem cells from the donor's bone marrow into the optic nerve to encourage its repair. Researchers said Mr. James had since passed many major milestones, including eating solid foods, being able to smell again. Pretty much back to being a normal guy, doing normal things, Mr. James said. The 46-year-old military veteran is only the 19th person in the U.S. to undergo a face transplant and the first person ever in the world to receive an entire human eye transplant. Full eye transplant surgeries pose a host of challenges because the complex structure of the eyeball. Yeah, it's not exactly just, pop it in and hope it works. Researchers are now focused on using Mr. James' transplant to understand how to restore sight to the eye, said Dr. Eduardo Rodriguez, a senior author of the study and director of face transplant program at NYU. Mr. James, meanwhile, is now concentrating on sending his daughter, Alice, off to college. This has been the most transformative year of my life, he said. I'd been given a gift of second chances and I don't take a single moment for granted. But unfortunately, he's going to be a guinea pig and maybe even after he dies, by scientists who are trying to unlock the secret of eye transplants. Because there's plenty of video games that just let you swap out your eyeballs. Cyberpunk 2077 is an example of a futuristic game in which you can just get fabricated eyes with cool little features like zoom and targeting and just pop it out and pop it in, patch your nerves and you're all good. But we're not there yet. But maybe one day we'll be able to just swap our eyeballs and I'm blind. Well, here you go. Here's an eye. Or I have bad vision. Here you go. Here's an eyeball that has better vision. 20/20 vision. Or even better than 20/20. 40/40 vision. Alright. For the next article talking about military veterans, Sweden is adding some jet spare parts and to their $443 million military aid package to Ukraine. This is by Elsa Court on the Kyiv Independent. Sweden has included combat boats, anti-tank weapons, ammunition, Gripen jet parts in its latest military aid package for Ukraine, valued at 4.6 billion Sweden krona, or $443 million. The Swedish Defense Ministry announced on September 9th. With the 17th military aid package to Ukraine, Sweden is entering a new phase of military support to Ukraine with a greater focus on production instead of donation, the Swedish Defense Ministry said. That's right, they're just starting to you know what? Transferring Gripen jets to Ukraine is currently not a viable option, but as it would interfere with the prioritized induction of the F-16 fighters. But Sweden is continuing its efforts to establish conditions to send Gripen jets to Ukraine in the future. So if they have most of the parts, when they finally send that final part, they can build one and have one. Sweden is therefore acquiring material parts for the JAS-39 Gripen, worth approximately 2.3 billion Swedish krona or $222 million, which are being reused in the construction of the E-series of jets. By acquiring new material parts, a number of JAS-39CD will be saved from being dismantled and can, if the Swedish government decides so, be considered for a possible future donation to Ukraine, the Defense Ministry said. Swedish Foreign Minister Tobias Billström said in July that Stockholm was open to providing Ukraine with Gripen fighter jets after the completion of the F-16 program, but further steps depend on Kyiv. The latest package also includes 40mm ammunition for combat vehicles, 90s, previously supplied by Sweden, as well as camouflage equipment for the Pansarbandwagen 302s provided in the 16th aid package. So that's that. Sweden will also send a number of robot systems, 70, a man-portable air defense system, MANPADS, 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 anti-tank weapons, winter equipment, and marine equipment worth approximately 500 million Swedish krona or $48 million, due to the threat posed by Russia to Ukraine merchant vessels traffic in the Black Sea. To assist the Ukrainian Navy, Sweden will supply 6 combat boats, 90s, and 2 launch trailers that can handle various types of boats, the Defense Ministry said. Sweden will send ground combat military equipment, also worth approximately 500 million Swedish krona or $48 million, as well as grenade launchers with ammunition, recoilless rifles with ammunition, and small caliber ammunition. Sweden announced in May its 16th military aid package for Ukraine, the largest package of military assistance from Sweden since the full-scale invasion began. Valued at 13.3 billion Swedish krona or $1.3 billion, the package includes 2 ASC-890 radar reconnaissance and control aircraft, the entire Swedish stock of Pansarbandwagen and 302 infantry fighting vehicles, artillery shells, anti-air missiles, and military to help maintain and replenish previously donated military equipment. Oh, that's so nice of them to send maintenance equipment as well. The Swedish government also said in May that it was planning to allocate 75 Swedish krona or $7 billion in military support to Ukraine from 2024 to 2026. Let's hope it doesn't last that long. The framework could cover future equipment to the nations, financial contributions, and financial support for the procurement of defense equipment. So there is the receipt of all the things they have sent or are sending to Ukraine to help with their war effort as they continue to try to push Russia out of their territory. Yes, I have taken sides here. So we're not a pro-Russian channel. But that's all my news.
Right on. More good news as we're trying to win the war against evil. This is a story from positive.news. Lucy Purdy, wildflower meadows first bloom wows in North Devon, which is
Devon, I think is how you say it.
On the North Devon coast in England. Sorry, what's that?
Devon is how you say it, I think.
Devon? Okay.
Yeah, Devon.
Well, I'm one of these Americans. On the North Devon coast in England, 90 hectares of newly created rare wildflower meadows have come into bloom this summer. Newly created rare wildflower meadows have bloomed for the first time this summer. Swaths of wild oxeye daisies, bird's foot trefoil, and bright blue vipers, bugloss, have flowered along with meadow grasses filling the area size of 197 football pitches, 90 hectares. The fields on the North Devon coast of England have taken 2 years to establish from 1.3 tons of seeds as part of the National Trust's largest ever wildflower grassland project. Acting as wildflower seed donor sites throughout the summer, rangers have been joined by volunteers to collect seeds either with a brush harvester, seed vacuum, or by hand. Every hectare of donor site harvested will provide enough seed to sow 2 more hectares of meadows, say organizers, allowing the scaling up of grassland creation across the Southwest. Solutions every Saturday uplift. Oh, wait a minute. That's an ad. I'm not going to read that. Species-rich grasslands are rare, with only 1% of flower-filled meadows remaining in the UK. That's very, 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 very small percentage, huh? Grasslands can take a long time to establish. Some wildflower species can take up to 7 years, whilst others like oxeye daisy can become dominant quicker, said project coordinator Joshua Day. The sense of anticipation through the last 2 winters has been high, watching and waiting for the first successful seedlings to emerge. Initial monitoring has shown an increase in wildflower coverage from just 2% to 40% in just 2 years, said Day, and fundamental meadow species such as yarrow, red clover, common sorrel, and yellow rattle have already been recorded. The first full bloom is an indication of success for the future species-rich grasslands here in Devon. Returning a diverse range of wildflowers to the countryside, which will in turn benefit nature and ourselves, he said. The flower power appears to be giving other forms of nature boosting along coast, helping wildlife that already lives there, as well as attracting new species. Sightings of pollinators such as the brown-banded carter bee and meadow brown and common blue butterflies are increasing as the specific plants that they rely on to survive, bloom, and grow. Well, if you want butterflies, plant milkweed. The insect populations are also on the up, with rangers seeing hundreds of meadow grasshoppers as wildflowers continue to fill the fields this summer. A vital food source for a range of wildlife, the rise in insects means several species of birds have been spotted, including swifts, house martin, skylark, kestrel, and meadow pipits, all species that are in decline in the UK. Greater horseshoe bats have been seen darting across the meadows, hunting at dusk. So there's the good news on wildflowers as they're making a comeback in England. And we also have good news about sound. This is from Andy Cordley, our good old friend at Good News Network. Targeted sound waves treat pain and depression in as little as one 40-minute session. Credit the University of Utah for the picture. I guess it's the right picture. A crown-like device has been relieving patients of pain and depression in clinical trials and has the authors excited. Called the diadem, named for a crown-like adornment worn by sovereigns across time, it sends therapeutic sound waves to targeted regions of the brains with millimeter precision. These sorts of non-pharma treatments can raise eyebrows with some, as for the last generation. The prescription of SSRIs for depression has been widespread and nearly universal among American clinicians. But the paper's lead author, Tom Rice, a postdoctoral research in the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the University of Utah, reports rave reviews among his team. We've been blown away by the positive results so far, Rice told New Atlas. After just a single 40-minute stimulation session, let's do this again. After just a single 40-minute stimulation session, patients are showing immediate, clinically substantial improvements in symptoms. While it should be kept in mind that not every participant saw drastic improvement, in the ones that did, the change was quite remarkable. He added, for several, you could just see it in their eyes. Coming out of the session, their mood and behavior were totally 180 from when they had walked in. They were noticeably at ease, less burdened, and more present. The paper on the device was conducted during phase 2 clinical trials, and the authors, blown away by the results as they admitted, are quickly looking to advance to phase 3. In the phase 2 results, among 20 people treated with the diadem, 60% of the patients reported a 33% reduction in pain immediately following the treatment. When tested on those with clinically sufficient depression, 10 of 14 reported remission 1 week later after just one session of the device. The diadem works by sending ultrasonic frequencies to specific areas of the brain, like the anterior cingulate cortex, which is partly the center of the pain and emotional regulation in our minds. Thanks to the device sophistication, the research team was able to penetrate the skull with the sound waves and reach the cortex to a millimeter level of precision. One patient reported it felt like their brain had woken up, while another one shared an anecdote of walking around the supermarket. I was walking around the grocery store and it just felt so clear. I was wondering, is this what normal people feel like? The team is actively seeking participants in the phase 3 trial. Those with chronic pain or depression who are interested in participating can email diademclinicaltrials@gmail.com. Spell that. It's a really long word. Diadem Clinical Trials, just like it sounds. DIADEM clinical, the word clinical, trials. So one big long word. Diadem Clinical Trials. At gmail.com. Send them an email. Maybe I'll send them an email. I could use a couple extra dollars for a stage 3 test. And maybe it'll cure my depression and my pain. Anyway, there's your stories. Good news. And I did send you a video.
Yes.
And back to you.
I got the video. I just forgot to download it, but I got it ages ago. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our culture news, which is coming out of the White Stripes. Famous for the, of course, big hit 7 Nation Army, which I think every person learns on the guitar. It's one of those first songs people learn on the guitar, along with Smoke on the Water. So, unfortunately, Trump thought he could use the song as a background song, which has been happening many times during all political things. It's even happened under like George W. Bush. Politicians decide to use songs,
University
they
of
like
Michigan
how they sound,
football.
and then they realize, oh wait, the artist who owns the licensing to this doesn't want to be associated with me, so I'm getting sued. This is by D. Jefferson on The Guardian. The White Stripes, Jack White and Meg White, have filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump for what they allege is the flagrant misappropriation of a recording of their hit song, Seven Nation Army, in a campaign video. In an Instagram post on the 9th of September, Jack White shared the first page of the lawsuit filed in court in New York with the caption, "This machine sues fascists." The video that spurred the legal action was posted by a Trump staffer, Margot McAtee Martin, on Twitter on the 29th of August, but has since been deleted. It shows the Republican presidential nominee and known criminal boarding a plane with the opening riff of Seven Nation Army playing in the background. Dude can't get on a plane without having a theme in the background. Responding via Instagram at the time, Jack White wrote, "Don't even think about using my music, you fascists. Lawsuit coming from my lawyers about this. That's your 5,000 others." I love that little quip in parentheses. Singer has made good on the threat, filing a copyright infringement suit alongside Meg White as the White Stripes, seeking significant monetary damages, enlisting Trump, his campaign, and Martin as defendants. The suit alleges that the campaign did not seek or obtain permission from the band to use the song and did not respond to pre-litigation efforts to resolve the issue. The lawyer Ronald Coleman with Dillon Law Group, who is acting for Trump on the matter, gave no comment to The Guardian on the September 29th, but said over email that defendants have not yet been served with papers. Okay, so he's saying he's suing them, but they haven't received the papers yet. The Trump campaign did not immediately respond to The Guardian's request for comment. White Stripes join a growing list of artists who have disavowed Trump's use of their music as part of his campaigns for presidency in 2016 and 2024, including Neil Young, Beyonce, the Foo Fighters, and Celine Dion. In late August, Universal Music served a legal notice to Trump's campaign over their unauthorized use of ABBA songs as part of his 2024 campaigns. Yeah, ABBA doesn't like fascists either. They're basically victims of fascism.
Artists.
Some of the members are victims of fascism.
Unless you're Kid Rock with its terrible music, or Ted Nugent with his terrible music. Yeah.
Trump is also currently fighting 2 suits for unauthorized use of music as part of his campaign, from the estate of Isaac Hayes, from the Guyanese British musician Eddie Grant, and last week a federal judge in Atlanta issued an injunction to prevent Trump campaign from playing the soul classic Hold On, I'm Coming, co-written by Hayes. In their lawsuit, the White Stripes say the Seven Nation Army is among the most well-known and influential musical works of all time. Okay, not to toot your own horn or anything. And said Trump and his campaign have sought to generate financial and other support for his campaign and candidacy on the backs of the plaintiffs, whose permission and endorsement he neither sought nor obtained in violation of their rights under federal copyright law. The duo also pointed out that previously publicly denounced Trump's use of the same song during his 2016 campaign, stating they vehemently oppose the policies adopted and actions taken by defendant Trump when he was president and those he has proposed for the second term he seeks. And unfortunately, since we live in a free country, you're allowed to deny anybody permission to your artistic, what is it called? I can't remember your IP. Something. I can't remember what IP stands for. Your IP. Intellectual property. You're allowed, as a free citizen in the United States, to deny anyone access to your intellectual property. So the government can't just say, well, I can use this because I was the president. Well, that's fascism, baby. And if you don't like it, go become a dictator in some other country or something. That's my story. Really short and sweet about some good news about people standing up to fascism. And I guess this in history.
Right on. This in history. Don't want to hear about it. Everybody's got a story to tell. Every single one's got a story to tell. Everyone knows about it, from the Queen of England to the Hounds of Hell. It's September 10th. And on this day, In 1419, John the Fearless, second Duke of Burgundy, was killed during a meeting with the future king Charles VII at Montreux, France. Oh, don't meet with that guy; he'll kill you. Anyway, 1651, Japanese rebel Shotsu committed suicide after failure of his plot against the Tokugawa shogunate. The shogunate. Tokugawa shogunate. There we go, me struggling with Japanese words. 1720, the Second Northern War was concluded by the Peace of Nystad. The Second Northern War lasted 21 years, 1700 to 1721. In 1813, U.S. naval forces of Oliver Hazard Perry defeated the British at the Battle of Lake Erie during the War of 1812. The Battle of Lake Erie. You don't hear a lot about that one. 1846, American inventor Elias Howe was granted the patent for his sewing machine, which revolutionized garment manufacture in the factory and in the home. In 1919, on September 10th, Austria and the Allied powers signed the Treaty of Saint-Germain, concluding World War I. There are so many of these treaties. 1934, American professional baseball player Roger Maris was born. He once held the single-season home run record for 61, which was broke in 1961, which is only lasted until 1998 when Mark McGwire broke it, and also Sammy Sosa broke it the same season because they were all jacked up on steroids. 1955, what's the truth? 1955, the TV show Gunsmoke began airing on CBS, and by the time it ended in 1975, the series was the longest running Western on American television. So, the Bonanza. Anyway, look at something up here real quick. Also on this day, Guinea-Bissau gained independence from Portugal. Guinea-Bissau. Has to be a small island, I imagine. I don't know. Have you heard of Guinea-Bissau?
No, I don't think so.
1984 on this day. 1984. Alex Trebek debuted as the host of the game show Jeopardy! Form that as a question, please. Who is Alex Trebek? Anyway, 1988, by winning the U.S. Open, Steffi Graf completed the first Grand Slam of tennis. She was the first woman to accomplish the feat since Margaret Court in 1970. The Grand Slam of tennis is the French Open. I think it's the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the U.S. Open. Those are the Grand Slam. There's 4 in a Grand Slam. Oh, and Aaron Judge has 51 home runs this year for the New York Yankees, so he has a chance to hit 61. There's about 3 weeks left in the season. That's a lot of home runs. Anyway, just had to look that up just to see if that 61 record was being threatened by somebody who's not on steroids. And I think Aaron Judge hit 60 before. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, back to this day in history. In 1993, the TV series The X-Files debuted on Fox. It starred David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson about the FBI's team that investigates mysterious things. And it developed a huge cult following. In the year 2000, Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical Cats closed after 7,485 performances. It was the longest running show on Broadway until it was surpassed by Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera 6 years later. Andrew Lloyd Webber just raking in the cash on Broadway. 2008, the Large Hadron Collider, the world's most powerful particle accelerator, conducted its first test operation. And I'm pretty sure they discovered the Higgs boson at some point, or think they did. that they first started going in 2008, the Super Collider, a project that was probably 30 years in the making. Our featured event, John Smith, that was his real name, John Smith, chosen as president of Jamestown. You think they would have picked James Smith for Jamestown or renamed the town Johnstown? But no, Jamestown was named after King James the First. Having survived capture by Indians repeatedly through the efforts of Pocahontas, the chief's daughter, John Smith became president of Jamestown Colony, the first permanent English settlement in North America, on this day in 1608. So, big event in his life, I guess. Our featured biography, Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer was born, famous golfer, was born September 10th, 1929. If he was alive today, he would be 95. But he did die September 25th, 2016 at the age of 87 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He lived a long life and spent most of it playing golf. And don't get better than that. Other birthdays today besides Arnold Palmer, who is also the name of a drink. What's in an old... Do you know an Arnold Palmer? I'm just asking a question. What's in an Arnold Palmer?
No idea.
I'm pretty sure it's just lemonade and iced tea.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah. Lemonade and iced tea. I'm pretty sure. I'll look it up. Also, birthdays today. 1941, Stephen Jay Gould, American paleontologist. Billow's birthday. The guy who said, "Fuck it, let's do it live!" It's his birthday today. He was born in 1949, American television and radio personality. Fuck it, let's do it live. Anyway, Bill O'Reilly's birthday. He's turning 75. Almost as old as the old fart, Donald Trump. 1963 is the birthday of Randy Johnson, American baseball player who was 6'10" and threw the baseball so hard that there's a film of this, you can look it up, he accidentally killed a seagull with a fastball. He was throwing a fastball and a bird just happened to fly right through its path and it, poof, turned into a big pew of feathers, basically. That's pretty horrific, but yeah, Randy Johnson could really throw the ball fast, and he was 6'10". A lot of baseball stuff today, by the way. A lot of baseball stuff. It is baseball season. It's the last month of the season. So Randy Johnson, 6'10", and could throw the ball really fast, turning 62 today. My God.
Damn.
Oh, 61. Sorry, he's born in 63. 61? How could he possibly be that old? I didn't think he was that old. Anyway, Jack Ma, who was born in 1964, is a Chinese entrepreneur. Jack Ma, M.A. And what day is it? National Day Calendar. National Day Calendar is National Ants on a Log Day. Do you know what ants on a log is? It's a food. You don't know. I didn't know either, but it's it's healthy. As long as you use the right peanut butter, it's healthy.
Okay.
Ants on a log is a stick of celery.
Ants on a log. Yeah.
You smear it with
Raisins.
peanut butter. Yeah, you smear it with peanut butter, and then you put raisins on it.
Yeah.
And it's a health snack. I don't know, it's got to be an acquired taste. I'm sure Elvis probably liked it because he liked peanut butter and banana.
Elvis.
But it's national. Yeah, Elvis. We're all going to bring up Elvis. Elvis and baseball. The eternal national symbols. Ants on the log. It's National Ants on the Log Day. It's National TV Dinner Day. Those old frozen things you just got pre-cooked, pre-packaged. Pop them in a microwave or the oven if you like your food traditionally heated. And eat while you sit on a little TV tray and watch the latest episode of, I don't know, whatever. I don't even know what's on TV anymore. National Swap Ideas Day. It's National Swap Ideas. If I got an idea, let's swap ideas. Anyway, that joke fell flat, but those are your days for today. September 10th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Before Ants on a Log. Before Ants on a Log.
Okay, this has been Allison here from the Netherlands, who is celebrating hopefully not seeing 8-year-olds on fat bikes anymore and not getting injured, because that's all I want is people not getting injured by following a trend, because let's be honest, children follow trends. That's what they do. Everyone has one. I also want one, and then next thing you know, you've spent 700 euros on a fat bike. But anyways, we will see you tomorrow for Wacky and Weird Wednesday. We will cover all that wacky and weird stuff that's been going on in the past week or so. So keep your eyes on for that. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. Of course, turn on that notification bell so you know when we go live and post a video, and like this video so that we know you enjoyed learning about all the good news of week 37 of the year, whatever week this is. I think I put 37. Without further ado, let's look at our mic drop moment from our dearly belated.
Oh no, I was right about the Arnold Palmer.
Ray.
Yeah.
People will come, Ray. They'll come to Iowa.
Are you watching it?
Yeah.
I'm watching it.
They'll turn up your driveway,
not
knowing for sure why they're doing it. They'll arrive at your door, as innocent as children, longing for the past.
James Earl Jones was 93.
When you look around, you'll say,
his father was an actor also.
They'll pass over the money without even thinking.
This is a great film for like
money they have.
Self-discovery and existentialism.
Ray, just sign the papers.
And they'll walk out to the bleachers. Sit in shirt sleeves on a perfect afternoon. They'll find they have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines where they sat when they were children and cheered their heroes. And they'll watch the game, and it'll be as if they'd dipped themselves in magic waters. The memories will be so thick, they'll have to brush them away from their faces.
Yeah.
Ray, when the bank opens in the morning, they'll foreclose.
This dude's giving him like
People
life
will
advice,
come, Ray.
and he's just
You're broke,
can't
Ray.
see him.
You sell now or you lose.
His brother-in-law.
Yeah. It's always the
One constant
brother-in-law,
through all
isn't
the
it?
years, Ray, has been baseball.
Yep.
America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers.
You plot under a cornfield.
Yeah, you tell him.
Dressed like a blackboard, rebuilt.
There's
and
still
traced
corn
again.
there.
But baseball has marked the time.
Hell yeah.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come.
I like how he
Ray.
got up, did a walk, and then sat back down.
Most
That was
definitely
his
come.
entire movement.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.